Germany's space ambitions go beyond satellites. Our next speaker argues that orbit has stopped being a luxury and started being load-bearing for the European economy. Please welcome Walter Pelzer, Director General of the German Space Agency and member of the Executive Board of DLR. Give him a pen.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for the kind introduction. Christina just gave a presentation about the moon, and she mentioned that what she said is maybe kind of far away for most of the people here in the audience, and that's true. It's the next frontier. But if you look back 30 years ago, actually everybody said, what are we supposed to do in low Earth orbit? Everybody thought, what are we supposed to do there? And now it's a big, big business. And this is actually what we try to prepare for the next generation. We try to prepare the next frontier to become a business area. What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit, I was told I should, due to the fact that some people have more or less no access to space, that I talk a bit about space and space as an infrastructure, and about growth. And so I'm happy to do that. And well, let's see. It works. We have one picture to show a little bit that space is not very visible like oxygen, but nevertheless, it's a critical infrastructure. It's something everybody uses every day. In earlier discussion and talks, we heard a lot of discussion about AI, but also about space. And the question whether we want to join the space business. And I can tell you, you are in the space business, for sure. And if not, then I hope that I'm not invested in your company. Because space is an infrastructure for public service. We can see telecommunication, internet access, weather forecasting, all these things probably everybody knows about is running through space services. But actually our daily life depends on it. We have our energy grid and we try to move from actually fossil to renewable energy, and we can forget all about it without space. Without space, time data, timestamps, we will never ever exceed and success when we want to transform our energy system. So one topic, if we switch off our Galileo or navigation satellites, within a time frame of 2 to 3 days, we will have a blackout here on the Earth. So from this point of view, just to give you a glimpse what is necessary or what is space doing. Or investors, a lot of investors over here. Without timestamps, the financial market will not work. They will shut down every market, because if you buy stocks, you have to have a very precise timestamp coming from the satellites. So satellites infrastructure is already in your daily life. And if we switch off this infrastructure, we will be set back to the 1950s. Doesn't sound so bad. But when I look at my kids, well, if they are in front of a map, they are kind of lost, because they are not capable of handling maps and actually being at an appointment at a time where they actually made an appointment 2 weeks ago. They have to send 200 WhatsApp or whatever messages to make sure that they really meet at the time they make the appointment. So we will not survive without the public infrastructure, the critical infrastructure in space. But there's a change. Space infrastructure was kind of expensive, and it was for public services. And within the last years, we had a big change. The usage of this infrastructure became commercial, private-driven. And so, based on this topic, also the services become private-driven. Actually, it's a base for new businesses, and there's actually 2 steps. The first step was that companies with a core business in space came up with new products. And then, this was a company like LNUB presented earlier on, where they produce upstream businesses to set up the infrastructure I'm talking about. Now we are coming more into a business where we have companies providing products for branches which are not space-driven. Companies which use space-based data to create value add in their products. So that actually people using these products have no clue that actually behind their utilization is a space business. And to foster these kind of intersectoral innovation, we created networks within the German Space Agency, where we try to bring together space industry with industry who have more or less nothing to do with space. This is called InnoSpace, and where we try to get space companies to motion, so automotive mainly, but also railway. Deutsche Bahn is part of it, for example. We have one for agriculture. If you look at the people in agriculture, they are very digital. If you think, oh, okay, they are, well, out there on the field. No, they are not. They are really, really smart using digital data to first create actually how is their engines, how is their machine running through the field, and what are they doing with evaluating whether there's fertilizer necessary, whether there's water necessary, actually to optimize what they are doing on the field. And this is really a very innovative area. And the third, of course, is InnoSpace to health, where we have health company, pharmaceutical companies talking about the usage, for example, of microgravity to come up with new pharmaceutical topics. These networks are for free. We do not try to make money out of it, and we are running in the direction of 1,000 entities who joined these networks, creating new ideas, talking about what is necessary. And it's not one way, so it's not that space tries to tell the others what we can do. It's actually that space shows what they are capable of, but we also learn what is actually necessary or what is an issue or an obstacle in the other branch and vice versa. But we said we were talking about growth because this is actually now only a topic we have for 10 or 15 years. But within the last 5-6 years, we have a significant change in the business. If you look at this number, this is a number of satellites in orbit. And you see that this is a steep growth rate. And this number, the last number, is supposed to double within the next 3, 4, 5 years based on the planning. And this is the big change we are experiencing now in space. For decades, this business was driven by institutional investors. Now it's driven by private investors based on the topic I mentioned earlier on, based on the topic that other branches see that value add is created through connectivity, and this connectivity is coming from space and creating value add for their products. And this change also needs change for people like me who are responsible for space agencies. In the past, space agencies were actually, we were in the driver's seat. If we were creating some kind of satellite, a launcher or whatever, actually we said we paid for it, we said how it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to be built, what kind of materials and technology is used. And this changed. We are moving in a different area where space agencies need to define a service, that we define what we need from industry, and that we hand over the innovative power to industry to come up with solutions we can evaluate. That does not mean that we are like customers going into a grocery store just picking what is on the shelf. Totally not. But we are moving away from the topic that the space agency has all the knowledge and industry has only to put it into practice. Industry now is much more powerful than in the past, and this is what we need to create and what we need to support. And support is exactly what space agencies are now to do so. Beside a few other topics, we have, when it comes to startups, 3 main tasks. The first one is technology de-risking. Space is hard, it's a famous word, and it's still hard. So to actually bridge a little bit the gap between investing or inventing and having successful innovation, to actually close the gap and de-risk space agencies. So we want to foster the technology development to actually, for all the investors over here, reduce the risk to actually enter into such a new startup or technology development. The next topic, also actually to make sure that an investor has some kind of support or, let's say, tailwind, is that we show up as an anchor customer. So if a new product shows up, which, it fits somehow in the service we need, whether it's downstream or whether it's upstream, we want to show up as an anchor customer, as a first customer, LNUB, for example. It's 2 years ago that I already bought some downstream service from LEO, also from the low Earth orbit, so that she can go to investors and say, oh, look, we have already orders from the German Space Agency. This is a second topic, especially important when it comes to launch services. And the third topic is also very important. Right now we have actually a wonderful situation that investments, public investments in space are quite high. Nevertheless, this will end somehow in the future. And space is very much based on public investments, especially in emerging companies or in Asia. So our task is now to prepare access to new markets, whether it's Africa or Southeast Asia, so that we pave the way for industry that they get access and additional information in the future. We talked about growth a little bit. A few facts, and I'm talking not about the space business, I'm talking about the upstream business, so investment in satellites and launcher. The downstream business, data, are actually around 15 to 20 times as big. In 2020, we had an upstream ecosystem in Europe of 12.9 billion euros. The European Space Agency was the biggest market, so a technology development agency was the biggest player in Europe. On the second place was the national programs and the European Union and the defense industry. So these 2 entities who actually buy mature products were the smallest area or the smallest player in the market. 2026, we more or less doubled the size of the market. Within 6 years, this market doubled. It's not taking place so often in Europe right now. But what's important is that the area where we buy finished products became the most important one. First of all, based on the procurement of the MODs, but also based on a growth in the European Union. And you can say, okay, 2.1 to 2.9, this is more or less nothing, taking into account inflation. But the MFF, so the financial planning of the European Commission starts in 28. And actually, they want to have 4 times as much money. So if they will be right, and if they will put in place what they plan and what they have actually already proposed to the member states, this 2.9 billion will in 2028 in the area of 9 to 10 billion euros. And then you can see that we have a huge change in size, but also in the question, what is the market asked for? The market is not asking for technology development anymore. The market is asking for finalist finished products. And this is necessary, and this is actually based on the national programs, which increased in the last 6 years also by 50%. The national programs in Europe increased by 50% exactly to foster and de-risk products based on the new economy. And this is a very important topic, and this is where we have in Germany, let's say, we are not the driver. We are the driver in the MOD area. We are by far the biggest investor in the MOD business, but we are not the driver of the 50% increase of the national program. And this is necessary to actually pave the way that startups will really be successful and that we have access to the upcoming market of the European Union. So, with that nice picture that we have still some growth areas in Europe, I would like to finish my presentation. In case there are questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Other than that, I hope that we had a short, you got a little bit a glimpse on space, that space is an important backbone, an infrastructure, and critical infrastructure, not only for public services. It will be the backbone and the growth engine for most industries. And the growth of space outperforms the growth of the global economy. Well, the global economy outperforms the growth of the European Union, and the European Union outperforms Germany. So if we are not part of this area, then I think we make a mistake. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Malta, let me just ask you a little question before. If you had to pick one moment in the next 24 months that will define European space sovereignty, what is it? Do you have an idea?
One moment or one event? Or
If you had to pick one moment, one event in the next 24 months that will define European space sovereignty, what is it?
When we successfully launch satellites of SATCOM BV4, this is a special constellation of the MOD, with a German launcher into the LEO orbit.
Okay, interesting. So where in Germany's space strategy is the gap between ambition and execution biggest right now? Where do you feel that the gap is?
The biggest gap is between the balance of the ESA budget and the national budget. We have, and Germany and this government made really a stretch, and I have to say thank you, that they clearly showed that Germany starts to lead space in Europe. And this is shown all over the place and recognized all over the world. Actually, I was in Sydney after the ESA ministerial was a few times in US. Everywhere where I showed up, actually, there was a clear message from NASA actually 2 weeks ago. We see Germany takes the lead when it comes to space in Europe. But what's important is we need to have balance between the ESA budget and the national program budget. because with the national program budget, we create competitive advantage for industry. We create outstanding science, and we pave the way to get access to the big upcoming European programs. And here we have a big lack, and I hope that the government will find the budget to actually fill the gap. Otherwise, a huge amount of German taxpayer money will go not to Germany.
And my last one, for a founder in this room who is listening right now, what's the most underused program or capital window you wish more people knew about?
One program I forgot to talk about.
Perfect.
Yeah, actually, thank you for the question.
Well, you're welcome.
I all forgot about one to talk a little bit more about our instruments. One really important instrument is the Space Innovation Hub. We talk a lot about bureaucracy, and we as space agency have to follow the German rules. And sometimes it's really a pain in the neck, I can tell you. Of course, we tried also to accelerate. How do we get funding to startups? How do we actually play as an anchor customer? And finally, we found a combination of federal law and European law to come up with, on the one hand, the Space Innovation Hub, where you get access to us very easily, and to the so-called Space Innovation Cup, which will start prior to the summer break, where we actually ask for a service, for a delivery, for a product, and you can make a bid more or less. We will not ask for tons of paper. You can make a short bid. We will have a very brief evaluation within 1 or 2 weeks, a two-step approach, always 1 or 2 weeks. We will not ask anymore, as we have to based on German law, that you show your history for the last 5 or 10 years, which makes no sense for a startup, that you show whatever and prove everything. Just give a presentation, be better than the rest, and within a time frame of weeks you get money to just put in place your proposal. Then we have a next step, an evaluation, and put into practice actually some kind of competition where we want to minimize the request and the proposal to cash flow for the company down to weeks. This is what we will start this year. This is from my point of view. If we are able to put this into practice without being fined by the Ministry of Finance, then I think we made a big step.
Very nice. You heard it here from Walter, where you can get the next help. And it sounds very straightforward. Thank you so much, Walter. Sovereign launch capability is a national choice, as you say. Germany is making it, hopefully. Thank you so much, Walter.